Hello guys, welcome to Networking Next. This channel is all about sharing knowledge on new technologies in networking world. In this video, you are going to get knowledge on Amazon Web Services, which is known as AWS. I'm going to cover the key concepts of AWS like computing, networking, securities, and other services which are offered by AWS. This video will give you enough knowledge to get started with AWS so that you can do hands-on and build some AWS services on your own. Please do subscribe this channel and like the videos so that you don't miss out the upcoming case studies, scenarios and lab practices. So let's get started. So the first question comes to our mind, what is cloud computing? This is something which is on the cloud. So what happens? What about the securities? So the cloud computing is a on-demand computing resource availability. It's an provided by many providers. The key providers like AWS, Azure, Google, etc. They provide the physical computing resource, locations, scaling, securities, backups, etc. on demand, and they are as metered as you pay or as you go model. So we, the enterprise, don't need to worry about spending time and money on the procurement and time to build or resources to manage end-to-end infrastructure. There are PaaS and SaaS services which are ready to consume services which are offered by cloud providers. So here is the cloud computing model. There are three categories on the cloud computing model on which the cloud platform works. First is the infrastructure as a service. Second is platform as a service. And third is software as a service. So what basically is infrastructure as a services? What are those services which are offered by the cloud computing and the cloud computing environment? So if you see in the blue, these are the resources which we manage, and on the orange, these are the services which service provider manage. Here the service provider is the cloud computing provider. So if you see the left side on the infrastructure as a service, you can see application, data, runtime, middleware and OS. These are all managed by us or like the enterprise company. But the virtualization, the underlying server, the storage and the networking are taken care by the service provider. So if you see a lot of the overheads on the procurement of storage, servers, virtualization, and the networking are already being provided by service provider. So this is the key concept on the infrastructure as a services. Second is the platform as a services. In this, if you see in the blue, the application and data, these are managed by us. And the rest, which is runtime, middleware, OS, virtualization, servers, storage, and networking, these are managed by service providers. So here in the platform as services, we only need to worry about our data or the code. And the third category or the third model is the software as a services. And if you see all are orange, it means this is a software as a service. It's a complete package which is provided by the cloud computing provider, which covers application, data, runtime, middleware, virtualization, servers, storage, and networking. So we don't need to worry about software as a service or any of the components while if we are consuming the software as a service. The best example is Microsoft Office. So this is a software as a service which is provided by Microsoft Azure, in which we don't need to worry about any of the applications till networking. We don't really need to worry about any of the concepts while to consume those services. So let's get started with AWS. So Amazon Web Services provides on-demand computing resources and services in the cloud with pay-as-you-go pricing. So what does that mean? This means that AWS is a cloud provider which provides on-demand computing resources. It can provide servers, storage, database, and other services which are hosted on the cloud, and they can be used as pay-as-you-go prices, which means the time or the amount we consume, so we need to price or the enterprise need to pay the price accordingly. So we can use Amazon to store public and private data. We can also host static websites, and also we can host the dynamic websites or the web app. Basically, we can host these websites by using the classic 3-tier application with web, application and database tier. Now, Here is the AWS services in this diagram. Here we can see on the top left, these are the application services on which the AWS supports. These are the application services like Elastic Transcoder, SNS, SES, SQS, and SWF workflow. These are the database services, Elastic Cache, RDS, Redshift, DynamoDB. So these are the database offerings which AWS provides. Now, under the foundation services, we have the compute, storage, and the networking. These are the basic foundational services for any infrastructure as a service offering. That means we can have an EC2 instance, which is nothing but a compute instance, which can be a Linux, Unix, Ubuntu, Windows, Windows Server. There are many list of EC2 instances which are available. I'll go into much detail in the later slides where I will show the demo on the console page. But for now, these are the compute services which AWS provide. Now, coming on to the storage, we have EBS storage, S3, Glacier archivables, CloudFront, storage gateway, and import and exports. I'll go them in the detail, but for now, just keep in mind that these are the storage services that AWS offers. Now, in the networking section, we have Route 53, which is basically DNS, Internet Gateway. So anything to route over the internet, it use Internet Gateway, Elastic Load Balancers, VPC. So VPC is one of the key main terms on the infrastructure services. It's virtual private cloud. It's a segregated network used for any enterprise or any individual, which isolates the traffic with another VPC. And then we have a direct connect, virtual private gateway, and customer gateway. These terms will be used in the later sections when we are going to do the demo, how to provide the connectivity from on-premises or any office locations to the AWS location. Now coming on to the global infrastructure, it's categorized into regions, availability zone, and edge locations. I'm going to give more details on global infrastructure locations in coming slides. Now here's the security sections. Security is one of the key concepts or key thought for anyone going over the cloud services or hosting any services on the cloud. So AWS provide a robust and a more secure environment by using many services, and couple of services are already being provided by AWS and few services that we can use on top of that. Might be going into the marketplace, we can host our own firewall. Going into the marketplace, there are all the vendors, mostly like Palo Alto, Cisco, they are all available on the marketplace. I'm going to cover what is marketplace in the later sections, but just for now, marketplace is basically a place where any third party providers provide their own resources which can be consumed over the AWS. But for now, these are the basic security services which AWS offers, which is encrypt and key management, where we can host our encrypted keys, identity and access management, which is very critical in providing the role-based access, access authentication and authorization, directory services, AD services, which we can sync with our on-premises or office location, CloudTrail log audits, trusted advisor. So these are the security services. Now coming on to the deployment and administration, they offer a long list of configuration management and deployment tool, which includes a couple of templates or the automation, which helps in automation basically of any of the infrastructure as a service, like cloud formation templates, code deploy. We use the AWS console. Now we have a CloudWatch monitoring. So these are the basically lot of deployment and administration services which AWS provide. Now, in short, what we think now about the AWS. So it says that it provides regions and availability zone. It is categorized its services in regions and availability zone. There are an ample amount of security which AWS provide. AWS also have their own products and services which are offerings. So in short, the key benefits of running the AWS in cloud is that we don't have to have an no upfront capital expense, which means we don't need to procure the servers or think about how we can scale the servers on day one. It can go as pay as you go on demand services. So in case our resources requirement increase, we can increase or scale horizontally and vertically our servers or any services. So it's really scalable and agile in terms of using the AWS cloud. Now it has low variable pricing. Couple of services are initially free, like Lambda services have around 1 million hits which are free. Pay only what you use. The services that we are only using, that only we have to pay. Then we have self-service infrastructure, and depends upon how we want to deploy our infrastructure. We can think, we can design, we can architect, and then we can implement on the AWS. It's very easy to scale up and scale down, depend upon the costing, how much we want to invest, how much we want to invest on the resources. We have fully control on those resources, and it improves the agility and time to market. Now, regions and availability zones. So we need to understand what the regions and availability zones are. So in short, Amazon Web Services are spread across globally, which is covering all the major countries, and it has divided its region into separate geographical areas. So a region availability zones. So these availability zones are their own isolated location. It's not a single premises. It can be spread across into 10 kilometers, or it can be within the nearest campus. But it has multiple and isolated locations which are known as availability zone. Now, coming to the next, in the security, AWS provide a secure global infrastructure plus a range of features that we can use to secure our data in the cloud. So what does this mean? Security is the main concern of any enterprise or any entrepreneur on going to the cloud. But AWS have taken care of security very well. It has security in each and every services. If you see, like in VPC, we have the ACLs, security group, route table, shield. There are standard shield and the advanced shield. Standard are really free to use, and advanced have their own charges. Network have their web application firewall, CloudFront geo restrictions. So these are all the security, and they are all attached to the main AWS security core. Like account structure, we can divide our accounts as per our requirement. Like we can divide our production, development, QA, they can be all different accounts. Then there are governance, data encryption is already there, data encryption in REST, in transfer. Now AWS APIs for authorization and authentication. We have role-based access, which is completely managed by IAM. We can provide micro granular access to whom we need to provide. So let's take an example, like if I want to give the S3 access, so an individual can only have the access of S3, not the database services. So we can really limit the authentication and authorization using the IAM services. So these are the AWS products and services. It's majorly divided into compute and networking services, storage and content delivery, security, database services, analytics, application services, and management tool. So before proceeding further, I'd like to go over the console so that you can have a look and feel of how AWS console looks. What are the features available? I talked about the geographical locations, regions, availability zone. So I'll just go through with all the details in this demo where I'm going to show the console. So please stick to on. Let me start the console. So this is the AWS Management Console. This is the main page where we can see all the options to start. So once you logged into the AWS console, this is the main page. So here you can see and the services option. So let's see, these are the compute. So as I mentioned in the previous diagram that I show, these are the compute options. These are the storage options. We can hover around and click any of the options. Then we have database services, which AWS offers, some migration and transfer services, network and content delivery, like what I mentioned about the VPC. It's a virtual private cloud, CloudFront, Route 53 DNS, API gateway, direct connect. So these are all related to networking and content delivery. So Amazon has summarize their services on their main subsections. So let's suppose compute, all the compute related services are available over here. So now if anyone interested in the robotics, if he wants to on the robotics code, if he has a code to run on the hardware robot, he can use the AWS RoboMaker. He just need to worry about the code and he can run the code on this robotics AWS RoboMaker services. Now there are many one interested on the analytics. So we have Athena, EMR, Cloud Search, Kinesis, AWS Glue. So these are all analytics related services. Now coming to the main point, security and identity compliance. We have IAM, Cognito, Secret Manager. All these are various AWS service which AWS provide, and they really gradually, or they really, I would not say gradually, but they increase. Like last 3 years ago or 5 years ago, there are not many services. AWS really started with and adding all those services. So this is how it look like. So if I go around the regions, so this I am in the top right, we can see the region. I am right now in the Oregon region. So if you want to change the region, you can just click on this option and then you can see these are the regions where Amazon is available. So you can see it's available in North Virginia, Ohio, North California. So these are the US region, Oregon. So these are the four regions over the in the US. And then in Asia Pac, it's covered in all those locations, Canada. Then in EU, it's Frankfurt, Ireland, London, Paris, Stock, South America. So these are the regions on which AWS is available. Now, this is a region. In one region, there can be a three or more availability zone. AWS makes sure that it has at least three availability zone in any region. Now this is the networking and this is the account number. So here you can look into your account and login details. You can go to your billing dashboard where you can monitor all your expenses, how much your compute or services are consuming, what is your organization hierarchy, what are your quotas. So these are the options. You can also directly go into these options where it shows that it's a simple wizards and automated workflow where you can really launch a virtual machine, you can connect an IoT device. So and now there are a couple of videos available that you can go through to, and they are really very good videos. I really have went through all these videos when I studied my certification on the AWS. So yes, so this is the basic video. So this is the first video, so I just really want to go around with the basics so that everyone is aware how the console look like, how are the page look and feel. In the next couple of videos I'm going through all those details, all those services in much detail. And here's the support. So if we have any issues, we can go through, and you want to check any documentation, we can go into documentation and check for any best practices. We can click into the support center and open a case with the AWS support, and they are really helpful and they can provide on any of the issues that we are facing on. So yeah, so all these features and the console looks clean and it has all the options available and we are ready to use. Now coming back to our AWS product and services catalog. So these are the services which AWS offer. Now let's get start with the first one, which is compute. So this is the compute and networking services. This is a very brief video, so I'm just I cannot cover really in much detail on each and every services. I'll try to complete in separate videos, but to summarize, to know all the details what the compute are, so these are the Amazon EC2 which provides the virtual server. So these can be Linux, Unix, Windows, or any other uh, AMIs which can be available. Now Amazon VPC, elastic load balancers, auto scaling, and AWS Lambda. I'll try to I'll speak on AWS Lambda because it's a kind of platform as a service in AWS where we really need to worry about our code. We really don't need to worry about the the servers, the size of servers to run the code, or we don't really need to manage the high availability, scalability of those servers. We just need to worry about code. Once we have the code, we can really just run those code on the Lambda and it will run. AWS will take care of running this code on its own backbone on offline. It will run on those services, but we really don't need to spin and host the EC2 services. So this is really a cool feature, and I'll encourage for all developers to use the Lambda services. I'll make a different video on the Lambda services so that you can know how to use the Lambda services and how easy and agile this Lambda service is. Now coming on to elastic compute, this is the main concept of the computing services. It's an Amazon Web Services that you can use to access servers, software, storage resources across the internet in a self-service manner. They provide the scalability, pay-as-you-go compute capacity. Like depend upon our requirement, we can go on a higher capacity compute nodes, or basically depend upon the requirement, we can just use the compute capacity. It scales in both direction. We can use the auto scaling method, in which basically depend upon the threshold that we had set, it will automatically add on the EC2 instances. So this is a standard and a simple architecture. Here we can see the big box is the AWS services, and then this is the VPC. Within the VPC, we have divided the instances into two availability zone to have the high availability. So in case any of the availability zone has any issues or any downtime or maintenance, then the other availability zone can take on the load. We have two public instances. Basically they are on the public subnets, and one instance on the private subnets. Public and private subnets are nothing but it's depend upon how we really want to route those traffic from those EC2 instances. Basically, in short, all the public subnets will have an internet gateway or the route to internet gateway, and the private subnet will have only the internet egress via the NAT gateway. I'll go through in more details in few slides or in coming videos, but for now, just to summarize that they are categorized as public subnet and private subnets. It's nothing special, it's just that the subnet which have a route to internet gateway, IGW, this is referred as a public subnet, and the subnet which has a route towards internet via the NAT gateway, it's referred as a private subnet. Now we have a load balancer in front. Load balancers basically, as it knows, most of the networking or server guys knows the load balancer is, as its name says, it balances the load. It basically segregates the traffic between these two servers. It balances the traffic, and depends upon the algorithm that we are running on the load balancers, it divides the incoming traffic on those two instances. Now we have an internet gateway. So internet gateway is nothing but an Amazon provided internet service, which can be used for both egress and ingress. Now this is a Route 50 service, which is a DNS service, and these are the users. So the typical flow will be the users. Let's suppose if I'm hosting a website, so users will really resolve my website using the Route 53 DNS, which is again um, synced with the public DNS, so that you will get the IP address, or you can resolve the host name, and then the traffic will route via the internet gateway, and it will come to the load balancers, where it's balancing the load depends upon the algorithm which is set on the load balancers. So a couple of load balancers algorithm are round robin. So let's suppose one packet comes over here and one packet comes over here of the user. It can be spread across depend upon the load. So let's suppose EC2 instance having higher load, then the packet for other traffic or other users will come onto the EC2 instance of other availability zone. It really depends upon how we design, how we architect the environment. So now let's start with storage and content delivery service. These are the storage services. The first one is S3, which is simple storage services. It's scalable storage in the AWS cloud. Now we have an instance storage, which is ephemeral storage. That means if the instance is powered down, the storage or the code or the application which is on the EC2 instances erases. And it's then now next one is Amazon EBS, which is Elastic Block Storage, network attached storage volumes for all the virtual servers. Next is Amazon Glacier, which is low cost archival storage. It means we can have some policies over on the S3. Let's suppose if we want to archive my 3 months old data, I can really have the policy added on the S3 that after the 3 months all the data will be moving on to the glaciers. So these are the database services: Elasticache, RDS, Redshift, DynamoDB. RDS, they are the relationship database services. Amazon Redshift is a fast, fully managed petabyte scale data warehouse. Amazon Dynamo, they provide the NoSQL database. So the database team or who deals with the database will be really interested on these database services. So DynamoDB is a NoSQL database. RDS is a relation database. Amazon Elasticache is in-memory caching services. So these are the couple of or the key database services which AWS provides. Now in terms of management tool, we have Amazon CloudWatch, which monitors the resource and applications. We have a CloudFormation, which provides the AWS resources, or basically it's provision the AWS resources using template. So in case we need to have bulk provision, let's suppose we need to create like 10 VPCs, 10 in routing table, so we really don't want to do it manually via console, so we can create the templates. It's a JSON template, so we can use CloudFormation to run those JSON templates. It can the AWS CloudTrail, it tracks, as its name suggests, it 3 2 1 start. So here's the AWS 3 2 1 start. AWS CloudTrail track the usage history for all the AWS resources by logging the AWS API. AWS config, view the current and previous configuration for the AWS resources and monitor the change. AWS OpsBook, which is to configure and manage the environment for our application, whether it's in AWS Cloud or on our on-premises data center. AWS Service Catalog distributes servers, database, websites, and application to users using the AWS resources. So this is all about the management tool. Now I believe in this video you have get a good overview and got to know an understanding on most of the AWS services. So this video intent was to provide you the basic understanding of the AWS services, and I hope that I'm able to provide those services. And if this is helpful, I'll really want to go on the details of individual services. If you have any requests that if you want to basically know a particular services, then please let me know. I make those tutorials in future so that it will be helpful for you to understand those services, and it will be helpful for you to build those services on or architect those services on your environment. So I would say really thanks for watching this video, and I hope you have liked the video. And please do subscribe the video and like the video so that I can keep on sharing those new videos and on the newer concepts, lab practices, some case studies, so that you can get more details. Thanks for watching. Thank you.